At this juncture, I would like to invite our third speaker before we go for a break and review. And our third speaker is in the person of Dr. Abibitumi Kambon, who is going to share something with us about what he has been doing in Ghana since he returned to the motherland. He returned from the United States to live in Ghana. And that is, again, the fundamental question is, he was in the United States, why did he return? Well, some of us are trying to go there, but he was there, he was born there. He's an African who was born in the United States that's choosing to stay there and live there, but he decided to come here. So, couldn't he have made it in the United States? Why did he come here? I think he can tell us more, and there are others with us here who can share their experiences and why they are here. You know, and they are making it. And he's going to give us an illustration of what he has done using the internet and using language. I refer to him as a master of the science of language. He's a linguist. You know, he has studied languages. He's a linguist. He has a PhD in linguistics. So actually, you refer to him as Ochiame Kwame Obadile Kambon. Okay, and Kwame Obadile Kambon graduated with magna cum laude, very high degree from Morehouse College in 2002 with a degree in African American Studies. He went on to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where he earned 2 master's degrees, one in linguistics and one in African language and linguistics. How many languages do you speak now? African languages?
I only count 3, but I do a smattering of about 20 or so.
20 African languages, smattering 20 African languages. And not only that, he's also learned in the ancient Egyptian Medu-Nature, which is hieroglyphics. He can write and, speak. So, it's a mad scientist of languages. And his master's thesis was on the linguistic connections between Akan and Yoruba and the linguistic reconstruction of the ancestral language from which both languages are descended. He has a website that, he repatriated to Ghana in 2008 to pursue his PhD in linguistics, and he ended in the University of Ghana, Legon. He won the Vice Chancellor's Award for Best PhD in the Humanities. He's now a research fellow at the Institute of African Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. And he has founded and is operating Abibitumi Kasa, a website which teaches Twi, Yoruba, Wolof, Medu-Nature, ancient Egyptian language, Kiswahili, Gan, Ewe, and other courses on African mathematics, history, science, and African liberation. He's married to Kala Kambon and has 3 children, Ama, Kwekwe, and Akusio. I would like to invite him at this juncture to speak to us. Thank you.
Memamwache ndi nawo nyeje ko nakasubasi ekaro saubona dumela. I know that we are here in Africa, so I wanted to greet you in African languages. I was invited by Dr. Boche to speak about how you can make it on African soil. And what I would like to do is give you a case study. Earlier, our MC asked us about some experiences that you may have had outside. And I said, well, I'm presenting, so I'll actually mention those at the outset. And one of my experiences, as Dr. Boche mentioned, I had 2 master's degrees when I was teaching in Chicago. I was teaching at Chicago State University, Malcolm X College, different schools all throughout the Chicagoland area. And one day, some white police officers decided to pull me over. And they did not ask me, do you have degrees? Are you an upstanding pillar of your society? They did what they do, which is they said that they're going on a fishing trip. That means they will get anyone who's black and on a whim, throw you in prison, and then you will spend thousands and thousands of dollars on your legal fees. And I was sitting on the witness stand having to fight off that charge. And as I was sitting there, I said, never again will I be in the jurisdiction of these Europeans to decide whether or not I see my family for the next 10 years on a whim. Recently we had the Black History Month Film Festival at University of Ghana at the Institute of African Studies. And one of the documentaries that was shown was called In His Own Home. And it was about a Ghanaian who was pursuing his PhD, which he eventually earned. But the police heard noises coming from his apartment. So what did they do? They kicked in his door and shot him in his chest and shot him in his face. And they did not ask for his passport to see, are you a Ghanaian? I would like to put this in a bit of historical context. Also, before I do that, the question about where you can get Kwame Nkrumah's books. There's a website called Library Genesis. I don't know if you're aware of it. Just do a Google search for Library Genesis. All right? And on that site, if you do a search for Kwame Nkrumah, you will see Axioms of Kwame Nkrumah by Kwame Nkrumah, Class Struggle in Africa, Conscientism, Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. You also see Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. These are all full books, PDFs available. You will see Revolutionary Path, and then also Towards Colonial Freedom. These are not all of his books, but these are a good section of them. Now let me come back. When I first started coming to Ghana, my mother, who spoke earlier, brought me to Ghana in 1998. And I would tell people about how they would say, oh, I want to go to America. You're from America? I want to go to America. And I would tell them about brain drain. I would tell them about poverty in the U.S. or tell them about homelessness, to the point I had to show them newspaper clippings before they would believe that any of those things existed. Because of course the roads are paved with gold in America, and the streets have dollar bills that fall from them. And eventually I came to a point where I realized that many of us who are here in Ghana, we don't see ourselves as Africans or even Ghanaians for that matter. If you ask you, what are you, most times they will say, oh, I'm Vante. Or they'll say, oh, I'm Ewen. Or they'll say, oh, I'm Gan. Or even smaller, they will say, oh, I'm Achim. They won't even say all of Akana, or I'm Achim, I'm this, I'm that. But when they go abroad, sometimes when they encounter the police or anyone else, that is where they come to understand themselves as being part of a broader identity. To understand that they don't ask you for your passport, you understand, before they crack you upside the head. I would like to give you a little bit of historical context, and while I'm doing this, if you can pull up the PowerPoint, if you can start the PowerPoint. I want to put this in a bit of historical context. Back in 1964, Malcolm X, has anyone heard of Malcolm X by show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, at least 5 people. Wonderful. He said, to help Africa in its struggle to free itself from Western domination, no matter where the black man is, he will never be respected until Africa is a world power. So all of you are rushing to America to get disrespected because Africa is not yet a world power. I'm coming. He said, the American government is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of your 22 million African American brothers and sisters. We stand defenseless. Did he say this just yesterday? Today they're doing a march, justice or else, about how many of us are getting shot down in the streets, left, right, front, and center. Learn about Amadou Diallo out of Guinea, who was shot 41 times. They didn't ask his passport. They say, if you are black, this is how we treat black people. If you are African, this is how we treat African people throughout the world. I'll continue. We stand defenseless at the mercy of American racists who murder us for no reason other than that we are black and of African descent. Last week, an unarmed African American educator was murdered in cold blood in Georgia. A few days before that, 3 civil rights workers disappeared completely, perhaps murdered also. They were. Only because they were teaching our people in Mississippi how to vote and how to secure their political rights. Our problems are your problems. We have lived for over 300 years in that American den of racist wolves, in constant fear of losing life and limb. Recently, 3 students from Kenya, are you listening? Recently, 3 students from Kenya were mistaken for American Negroes and were brutally beaten by the New York police. Shortly after that, 2 diplomats from Uganda, are you listening? 2 diplomats from Uganda were also beaten by the New York City police, who mistook them for American Negroes. If Africans are brutally beaten while only visiting in America, imagine the physical and psychological suffering received by your brothers and sisters who have lived there for over 300 years. Our problem is your problem. No matter how much independence Africans get here on the mother continent, unless you wear your national dress at all times when you visit America, you may be mistaken for one of us and suffer the same psychological and physical mutilation that is an everyday occurrence in our lives. Your problems will never be fully solved unless ours are solved. You will never be fully respected unless we are also respected. You will never be recognized as free human beings until and unless we are also recognized and treated as human beings. Our problem is your problem. It is not a Negro problem nor an American problem. This is a world problem, a problem for humanity. It is not a problem of civil rights. It is a problem of human rights. We pray that our African brothers who have not freed themselves of European colonialism or neo-colonialism, only to become and get held in check now by American dollarism. Don't let American racism be legalized by American dollarism. There are very key points there for you to understand. So for those of you who are rushing off to the UK, who are rushing off to Germany, I had a friend in Germany who told me about an African who was arrested by the police there and burned alive. He was handcuffed and shackled at his feet and laid on a mattress. They put the police put lighter fluid on him and burned. These are the places that you are running off to and in such a rush to go. But I want you to just give some thought to that. Because for me, I left that place where I realized that anytime on a whim, they could do whatever they want to do. You will have your degree from University of Cape Coast or from University of Ghana, and you will go there and you will get the same treatment until Africa is a world power. Once you know that, then you will start putting your energies towards making Africa a world power. And that doesn't come from sending your human resources over there. So what I will do today is I want to bring it away from things that are purely theoretical and give you an actual case study. And this is a case study of what is called Abibitumi Kasa. Can everyone say that? Who can tell me what Abibitumi Kasa is? Anyone who may speak a language where that may come from. Abibitumi Kasa. Anyone? Okay, yes, young lady, can you tell me what Abibitumi Kasa is?
Black Power language.
That child must have an excellent father. That is Abibitumi Kasa, Black Power language, Abibitumi Kasa. And what this is I was sitting, my parents had a bookstore and cultural center back in the US. And I had just attended an excellent lecture, what I would say even a black-excellent lecture, or a blacknificent lecture. Wow. And in this spectacular lecture, I said, you know what, this was very informative information, but how come anytime we are talking about African liberation, we are doing it in English? It seemed a bit of a paradox, you understand? So from there I said, why can't we discuss black power in our own languages? Why can't we discuss African liberation in African languages? Again, this is dealing with how you can make it on African soil. Please scroll down. So this is Abibitumi Kasa Black Power Language, a case study. Please come down. First off, Abibitumi Kasa, the mission of Abibitumi Kasa, and what I would like for you to do, I'd like for this to be a bit interactive because I don't want you to fall asleep on me. That anytime I say Abibitumi, I want you all to say Kasa. Can we do this? Abibitumi. Abibitumi. Excellent. So, the mission of Abibitumi, good, is, and this is African Language Institute, is to provide instruction and resources in the interest of liberation, sovereignty, and nation building by and for African people. The knowledge and principles necessary for this goal are embedded in the languages of African people. Therefore, a central focus of Abibitumi is to provide language instruction which highlights information including but not limited to African worldview, culture, math, science, and spirituality. Abibitumi. Good. Let's continue. There are a few kernels of wisdom that I find inspirational. One is this idea from Jacob Carruthers, who wrote Medu Necha. He says, African champions must break the chain that links African ideas to European ones. Let me highlight that again. African champions must break the chain that links African ideas to European ones and listen to the voice of the ancestors without European interpreters. Very powerful. Also in Kikongo, Makumbongi Kamatombulo Wanga Zako, which is to say, the community's political institution does not borrow foreign dialects to discuss its political matters or to educate its members. But this is exactly what we have here, where in our universities we are using the languages of our colonial enemies to instruct our members. Let's continue. Abibitumi. 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 So at Abibitumi Kasa, there are several languages that are taught, some by myself, some by my colleagues. So Akan Chi from Ghana is taught there. I teach that one. Yoruba from Nigeria, I also teach that one. Wolof from Senegal, I also teach that one. These are the three languages that I claim. And then also Lingala is a study group that one of my colleagues in Martinique teaches. Also Kikongo, the same colleague, teaches that one. Medu Necha, scholar Baba Bonochi out of the US teaches that one. Also hieroglyphics as it's called. Ewe is taught on demand by a colleague at University of Ghana. Ga also on demand. Kiswahili from a sister out of Atlanta. And then Songhoy is now defunct, but that was taught by Dr. Maiga out of Mali. Abibitumi. Continue. So let's come back. Abibitumi Kasa by the numbers. So how popular do you think this site is that is dedicated to African languages? Many of us think, oh, these are just vernacular. These are dialects. They are nothing. But look at how popular this site is that has a very small niche in terms of dealing with African languages and things of that sort. We get 1,500 to 2,000 unique users per day. That is more than we have in this room. All right? We also get between 40 and 45,000 users per month. And this is analytics data that shows exactly that, where you can see every single day it's always between 1,500 and 2,000 users. Let's continue down. Since we started keeping track in January of 2011, we've had 1,123,523 users. And this is as of last week, because that's when I did the screenshot. It's higher now. But this is just to tell you something that many of us think, oh, this is insignificant, this is irrelevant, oh, this is just my language from my village. That Africans throughout the world want to know our own languages and our own information. And many of my students are Ghanaians, but they were born abroad, and their parents never taught them their language. So these are the people who are willing to pay $195 for one class. So what we're doing, we're linking doing something that's powerful and uplifting for African people, but then also the economic aspect that we mentioned as well, that these two do not have to be divorced entirely. Let's continue down. This is a geographical user distribution. It shows that since we started keeping track, every single country, these are all shaded. If you see something that's not shaded, it means that it is not, we don't have users from there. This is every single country on the planet Earth. We have users coming from those places who are interested in learning about African languages, who are interested in learning about African mathematics. How many people know about African mathematics? 3. That means that you need to go to Abibitumi Kasa right now, if not sooner. All right, let's continue down. And I would say, drop that yam, but I won't say that. What I would say is get a smartphone made by African people, because in Ghana they are making their own phones, and I hope you have one. We'll continue. So with this, let's stay on this slide very briefly. The places that you want to go, they want to come here. This slide is showing that out of the over 1 million users, over 500,000 of them are coming from the United States. The place that you are running to, they are running to come here because they know something that you may not know, which is whosoever controls Africa controls the world. You understand? You see that the second largest amount of users is coming from Ghana, and then third from United Kingdom, fourth from Nigeria, fifth from Kenya, sixth from India. You will see the Indians coming here building their businesses because they are trying to get information on this. Canada, South Africa, and then Netherlands. Let's continue. So part of how we do this is by having forums. Now, forums are places where anyone can post information about Africa and African people. So with our forums, this is now something that whenever anyone searches for anything of Africa, they will see Abibitumi Kasa. There are people who I've never met before that say, oh, that is your site, because they did a search about anything dealing with Africa, and because not only myself, but over 6,000 members are posting information about Africa every single day. So when there's a new event that goes on, people say, oh, have you heard of this? I say, yes, because one of my colleagues has posted this already on Abibitumi Kasa. Everyone, Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Let's continue. So again, the forum, in this is a small screenshot that shows we have over 114,000 individual threads. This is like 114,000 books in your library. We also have over 138,000 posts, 6,114 members, and out of that, at any given point in time, 145 are active members. Let's continue. For our mailing list, we have 9,257 subscribers to our mailing list. This is very powerful in the sense that if we want to get information out to African people throughout the world, with the click of a button, we do that. My wife Kala is in charge of communications at Abibitumi. 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 Black Power language. Let's continue. From this is a bit smaller, but this is a list of customers. So customers are people who pay. They're not just using the site, coming and going. These are people who pay. And at the top it's very small, but this is over 1,300 customers at Abibitumi Kasa. Only since we installed this particular system. Before that, we had other customers on a different system. And you'll see here that this person made a purchase for $195. This other person made a purchase for $390. And what are they paying for? They're paying for something that you think, many of us think, is worthless and useless. They want to learn African languages. We'll continue. Alexa rankings. Alexa is a website that keeps track of website rankings. And you see here, Abibitumi Kasa is in the top 500,000 websites in the entire world. Now that doesn't sound impressive until you realize that there are billions and billions of websites in the world. But we are trying to not be satisfied with being in the top 500,000. We want to be the #1 website in the world. Now how do we do this when many of my colleagues are supporting white websites? They are at white cesspool plantations such as Facebook, such as so forth and so on, names which I won't mention. And many of them have never heard of Abibitumi Kasa. You understand? So I would like for us to change that. So today, instead of posting on our enemies' websites, I want you to post on sites that are owned and controlled by African people, such as Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Because otherwise we think we're helping ourselves by clicking likes and whatever, but what you're really doing is you're enriching your enemy, who is taking that same money to build prisons, who is taking that exact same money from your clicking and your liking to build bombs that they will then drop in Libya. Ghana is next. Let's continue. So Abibitumi Kasa was founded in 2005, first as a blog spot and then as an independent site in April 2006. And this is Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Wonderful. Let's continue. Now this is what the site looks like now. Very clean site, and it shows an African here. This is actually taken in Ghana Fest in Chicago. Let's continue down. Now earlier, actually I don't know if this will show because we're not on slideshow mode, but this was an earlier iteration of the website that was done in Flash. See if you can click on it. If it will come, if not, we will just continue. Okay, unclick, we will just continue. All right, let's come down. This is just a simple screenshot. So this was one of the earlier websites, very busy. We made it a little bit less busy, but it was an HTML site that had Flash embedded. Now you'll say, well, how did he do this website? Well, it was what we call on-the-job training. And it was what we call on-the-job training. Now when I say on-the-job training, it means that I built the website myself. Without knowing how to build a website, I looked at the code of other websites and I said, you know what, let me just embed that code, and now I'm making my own website. Let's continue down. Over the years, I got so good at it that people said, you know what, we want you to build websites for us. So I ended up doing website design as a side thing. And when I'm talking about Abibitumi, 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 it's not only the pastor who should be screaming, we should be screaming about African liberation. Huh? Very good. So as I was doing this, they mentioned that I did my 2 masters, I did my doctorate here in Ghana. Abibitumi Kasa is where I got the money from to pay for my doctorate education, teaching African languages. You understand? This is how I was able to move my entire family here to Africa. You understand? So just being here in Africa, you can make it on African soil, and this is a case study to show you. And this is Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. And these are some of the lesson materials. These are PDFs that have MP3 recordings embedded. So what this is, they download the PDF, they click a button, and now they can hear what the sound is. Now they can learn the language at their own pace. All right? And this is, again, coming back to the idea of being creative and finding ways. I didn't want to do, one of my colleagues from the U.S. said, oh, you're in Ghana, you must be teaching English. I said, no, I'm in Ghana, I'm teaching African languages. We continue down. This is one of the tools that we use for online streaming called Flash Chat. We use this from 2006 to 2011. And the way it works, you will see these different boxes. This is where you will see someone's video. They hear you live and in real time. Let's continue. This is what we use from 2011 to 2014. It's called Flashcom, and it's a more robust solution than the Flash Chat. But again, it offers the similar functionality in the sense that you can stream live and hear live. So I've been doing this for just about 10 years, even before I moved. Let's continue. Now this was the game changer in Ghana, because before so much of the profit margins was cut into by the high cost of internet and the intermittent connections, that at least in Accra now, I know they're moving to Takoradi and other places, Surfline has come. So from August 2014, we were able to use 4G in Ghana and get a much stronger connection, and it's much cheaper relatively. Let's continue. So another solution that we have embedded in the site comes from any meeting from 2014 to the present. And this is me. You see an image of me at the AU headquarters in Ethiopia. So if I'm traveling around, I'll be traveling to Ibadan, Nigeria next week to give a presentation. Where does the money come from? You can make it out of thin air by making your knowledge valuable. And once you know that being African and your African knowledge is valuable, you will come to see that everyone else in the world knows that. Let's continue. And this is a video. See if you can click on the video and if the video will come. This is what we call the simulclass format. And we are here seated at Hacho. Press the play underneath. So we are seated here at Hacho. And we are streaming. We have a projector just like this. You could do this right here at Cape Coast today if you wanted to. And we're streaming the projector. So this person is in UK, this person is in US, this person is in the Caribbean. You understand? So live and in real time, some are giving their final class presentations here in Ghana, and others are giving their class presentations online. And they're interacting live and in real time, talking about African liberation in African languages. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. We'll continue down. And again, this is just using our own creativity and whatever resources we have in order to make it where? On African soil. This is another final presentation. We'll skip past this, but this is a sister in the US. This is my mother streaming in live. This is a sister up top in the UK. She is a Ghanaian, but never learned the Chi language, even though her parents spoke Chi. They didn't teach her. So she said, you know what, I'm going to learn the language now. So she went from absolutely zero to by the end of taking the advanced course, she is able to have conversations with everyone in Chi and now teach them Chi. Because many people from the US don't know that even here, if you get a native Chi speaker to count from 1 to 10, it may be a challenge. Because they are so used to doing things 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you say something like, they will start smiling because they will say, what language is this? And it's their own native language. So now she knows how to read and write the language that many native speakers don't know how to do. She also knows how to do mathematics in the language. My daughter, I'll have her come up and do a short math presentation in Chi. We homeschool her. Let's come down. These are other videos of final presentations. This is a young brother here at Hacho. And this is a short video on Abibitumi Kasa. We'll move down. Amabra. And this is my daughter, Ama. And we will do something, just some simple arithmetic in Chi. Where's your kwaku? I think Oshia Kasa. Kwaku wants to bra. Are we back? Good. But I'll still do my short interlude. Kwaku wants to bra. Ama. So what a do? Now we a num from one. Say Nabeka.
Enum.
A num Nabeka. What I asked her, if you have 10 and you subtract 5 from it, how much will remain? A do no a whole munu yahin.
At your 9.
Yeah, at your 9. So basically, after 20 times 2, how much is it? It's 40. Very good. Move for one time. Kwaku, Bako, Mieno, Miensa, and 9, Inum. He's not yet doing it on cue, but he will do it at home. Pardon my impossible. Move, you're going to sound like your mom. And I'm moving. My impossible. All right, so now we also have mobile application, Forum Runner. And this allows you to, even on your phone, you can get onto Abibitumi Kasa and interact with over 6,000 Africans at any point in time, just from that. Let's continue down. This is called Kappa Talk. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. And what this also allows you to do is a separate app that allows you to interact with Africans and post to the forum on your phone. Let's continue down because time is not on our side. This is Comment Chat that allows you to interact with users on Abibitumi Kasa live and in real time. Abibitumi Kasa. Let's continue. These are testimonials. This is a friend I mentioned. I went to Ethiopia to the AU. This was a friend who I taught in Chicago, and he was saying, I've taken Obadele's Yoruba and Chi classes. I'm amazed by his knowledge of African languages. I was just using this as an example of so many testimonials, Africans of the diaspora and of the continent who have learned, and he was inspired by taking Abibitumi Kasa to repatriate and make it on African soil. My interest. So future direction, spreading the word. If you can play just a few seconds of this video. This is on TV3, where I was giving a presentation on technical terms and scientific terms in the Chi language. How many people know the indigenous Chi word for computer? One. So it's called Fidye Bajima. Fidye Bajima, which is basically saying a machine that is like a thinking, it's dealing with the CPU. That's the indigenous word for computer. Now, we should have an indigenous word because the PC was invented by a black man named Mark Dean, who has the majority of patents on the PC. So if a black person can invent this thing that you're using every day, why can't a black language be used in order to describe it and name it? Let's continue. So anyway, that's the interview. We'll come down. We're also spreading the word with flyers. And you'll see a flyer here with Yasantua here, with Malcolm X here, continue down. Other flyers that we've spread throughout Ghana and other places, the US. You'll see Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah. So this is dealing with Abibiriasi, the global African world. Continue down. So future directions, we're also bringing digital to the universities. We have at Institute of African Studies, we have a channel where we are able to stream our seminars. We also stream live via Skype. We're also in partnership with major US universities. So basically what I was doing in the private sector, I'm now infusing that into the University of Ghana. Let's continue. So conclusions, what lessons do we have? Our lessons are that we should have openness to try new things. Abibitumi! 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 That we should have openness to try new things and believing that your knowledge that you are learning about African people and that you know about African people is valuable. We should have openness to try non-standard ideas. No one told me do it like this, do it like that. It's just I think this would make sense so that I can make it where? On African soil. Knowledge production to attract users. That's the forums. We have over 100,000 threads. Any search you do for Africa will eventually take you to Abibitumi. Abibitumi! Abibitumi! Also, greater monetization for self-reliance and sustainability. So in addition to giving information away for free on the forum, we also sell things, and that way it can be sustainable and self-reliant. Also, the private sector means that if you don't work, you don't eat. Being self-sufficient, when we say we want to be free, that doesn't mean we do whatever we want. When we say we want to be free, it means that we have to do more work because no one is going to do it for us. That's what freedom is about. So if you don't work, you don't eat, so there's no room for being lackadaisical. You will come up with ideas, otherwise your cute little children will starve to death. So the idea is that better keep coming. And also the final idea is that you can make it on African soil, and the internet can be a key to doing that. Let's come down. So to contact me, you can contact me info at abibitumikasa.com. Also visit the website abibitumikasa.com. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. Abibitumi Kasa. And in conclusion, I'm a second now. Dua, Madam Watson. Nyayuana don Akwekaka, Yeren Genje, Eshe Asantini Sana, Matondo Mingi, Fofo.
Okay, gracias. Thank you. I'm speaking foreign language, though it's not African. All right. In the next few minutes, we just want to take 1 or 2 questions that you have. We've taken 3 lectures so far. We have 1 or 2 lectures to get. Any question that you have, you are free to ask. So many questions. Any question that you have, you can come here. Any of the doctors here will answer your question for you. Anybody with a question? You have a question? Yes, please come. Anybody with a question? Please don't be afraid to ask any question. There is nothing like a wrong question. There's a wrong answer. There's nothing like a wrong question. So please, those of us who have questions, can you please come down here quick? And please, if you want to address a specific speaker, you can just go straight ahead. All right. Thanks so much.
Blessed afternoon. My question is, I saw Abibitumi Kasa, but the time I'm growing up, I know Abibitumi. So I want to ask why the A, not the O. So that's my question.
Medawase, that this is coming from an analogy with Abibidrum, Abibimai, Abibifo. That singular you have Obibini, that plural you have Abibifo. So with abstract nouns, and this is coming from, I will come from a linguistic perspective and then try to break it down small, that you have what was a noun class system, and you find a similar thing in Bantu languages, where depending on what the prefix is, that will determine what the thing is. And I'll give you examples. So for example, you have the root siu, right? If you change what the prefix is, it will change what it is. So when I say msiu, what is msiu? It's water in small enough amounts to be handled by human beings. When I say asiu, what is that? That is now talking about water that flows on the ground. When I say usiu, many people don't know the word usiu, they say msiu for that. But that one is rainwater. So this is basically coming from a noun class system that, depending on what the prefix is, it tells you what it is. Typically, the A is used for abstract nouns, whereas O is used for a human being, a singular human being. Because Abibitumi is an abstract noun, that's why we use Abibitumi Kasa, similar to Abibimai. It's an abstract idea of Africa, land of the black people. If I'm saying Obibini or O whatever or O, I'm talking about a singular human being typically, but that's the reason why. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Like your explanation based on Abibitumi Kasa, then we talked about the Yoruba, the language, and Nigerian. So the languages there in Nigeria, basically we have 3 languages, which is Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. So Yoruba to be in the Abibitumi Kasa, what about the other ones? So I'm yet to clear about it because unlike the Ghanaian languages, like the 3 languages in general, so, but we don't have the united language there in the country, so I'm trying to get a clear picture about the other ones, so it's not so linear. Thank you very much.
Himela. Now good. So these are the 3, I'm thanking him in the 3 major languages of Nigeria. This is because Abibitumi Kasa, the way it grew up very organically from my own personal experiences. So I started learning Chi, as I mentioned, when my mother brought me to Ghana. When I went to grad school, I actually wanted to learn isiZulu, and this is my little son, Kweku. I wanted to learn isiZulu, but they weren't offering isiZulu. Basically, the idea is I had heard about Yasantua fighting the British. I heard about the Zulu defeating the British at the Battle of Isandlwana. And I said, I want to learn the languages of everyone who has defeated the British, combine all of those together, and use them to defeat Europeans, because they must have good ideas in those languages. The semester before I came, they stopped offering Zulu, but they had Kiswahili, they had other languages, but a lot of the languages had a lot of Arabic influence. There's a proverb in Chi that says, Yenjane nkane nkutujim, which is to say we don't run away from the fire ants to hop into the fire. So I say, I'm trying to get away from English. Why am I going to run into a language that is infiltrated by so much Arabic? But basically, Yoruba was being offered. The languages, and then from there, I started learning Wolof. I had a colleague there who started teaching me Wolof, and then I learned it formally in school. So the reason why Yoruba came in is because of my personal experiences of learning Yoruba. I've also had people who speak Igbo who say we should have Igbo languages, we should have an Igbo form. So on Abibitumi Kasa, we created an Igbo form, those people disappeared. Later, other people said, we want Igbo, why isn't Igbo here? They said, yes, Igbo, Igbo, Igbo. And we created an Igbo form, and once in the Igbo classes, those people disappeared. So again, it's just because of the practical, pragmatic challenges that we're open to every single indigenous African language, and we would eventually like to grow to incorporate every single indigenous African language, but we need the resources, we need the people to do it. I don't speak Igbo, so I can't teach Igbo, but if you speak any other Nigerian language, whether it's a major language of Nigeria or a smaller language, if you are able to teach it and know how to teach it and have expertise in it, then you can now come on board to Abibitumi Kasa.
I think this is the final person. Anybody else with a question? Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon. My question is to Dr. Abuchi and Dr. Tuari. Now, Dr. Abuchi talked about living a holistic life, and Dr. Tuari talked about not depending on foreign aid. Now, my question is, we have African leaders who are more or less like European in African disguise. Those leading us are thinking, their thoughts are of the European mindset. Now, they preach of virtue, but they practice vice. Preach that we should use made in Ghana or made in African words, but you go to our parliament and we see most of European things there. So my problem is, how do we deal with this issue?
Thank you for your question. The first thing I wanted to say is that the answer to your question can just be summed up in, I would say, a couple of words. We need to decolonize our mind, as Gugu Chongo has said. Understand me? Now, it's very simple. What is happening here is, I would call it a kind of, I would say, getting our resources. First of all, I want you to bear in mind that the Industrial Revolution in Europe was made possible because of the wealth which the British had stolen from Africa and for the stealing. Understand me? So, Sheikh Anta tells you, that we had it not been colonization, exploitation, and all those, I would say, are scandalous manners of taking wealth and resources from Africa, today Africa would have been richer than Europe. Understand me? And he uses Japan as an example. So now, when it comes to sort of things like, I would say African leaders going for loans and everything, I would just mention one example to you. It's a basic book which I like a lot, and I would recommend it to you. It's Death Aid by Dambisa Moyo. I'm mentioning it to many of my students. And the subtitle is Why Aid is Not Helping Africa. In the book, she tells you and she shows you that the more, I would say, a country is, I would say, financially unstable, the more they get loans from the World Bank and the IMF. Do you understand what it means? In other words, she goes into details. She mentioned some countries, like the Central African Republic, where Kambon Kasa was president. Do you understand me? And she shows that he was richer than his country. The same thing happened with Mobutu in Zaire, which is the Central African Republic, which is the Democratic Republic of Congo today. Mobutu was richer than his country. So in other words, they know, the World Bank know, the outsiders know, they pump the money into places where the money is not supposed to be. They give the money, it goes into the pockets of the leader who wants to be back forever. So for me, it is a sort of vicious cycle, and we have to break it. Why do we go to school? Why do we talk about critical minds? Why do we talk about economics? We know how to read, we know how to count, but we know how to think for ourselves, and we know what is happening. Everybody knows that every country which has gone to the IMF, to the World Bank, ends up being what? More bankrupt. So I wonder why Ghana is going to the World Bank. You see me to say, I'm thinking nonsense. Forgive my word, that makes sense. Ghana wants to enslave itself more financially. That's why it went to World Bank. Oh, but I can't understand. No economics can convince me why Ghana wants to World Bank and any good thing, any advantage you're going to get from it. It's only what I would say more and more mess. They're going to tell you where to create jobs. They're going to get you where to invest. Then again, economy, they're going to have more remote controls in a very embarrassing and powerful manner. You understand the cruel manner. They're like shooting somebody in the head, as he says. That's what's going to be happening. That's what. Once you go to World Bank, that's what you're going to do. And I wonder how somebody with a brain, as what you said, one of his was, you posted on Facebook, I'd like you to have a say, why did God give us a brain? Why do you have a brain? How can you have a brain and you go and give your money to somebody who's going to take it and use it against you? Or you go and borrow some money in a way which doesn't make sense. Somebody was saying, but you go and get a loan from the World Bank. But do it. They'll give you that money. But they're going to put a certain interest on it. In such a way you will never finish paying it. Understand me? So you go and take a little amount of money, and first of all, you don't need it. Think about a country like Ghana. I'm sorry, I'm digressing too much. But when I think about the resources of this country, and when I think about the economic situation of this country, I mean, it disappoints me. It makes my heart bleed. You know, in Africa, we talk about, just as, Dr. Kambon was saying, Worodugu and Kodugu, Njula, in Wangara, it means what? The land of the salt and the land of cola nut. They are the two extremes. That's where I would say the African way of living is based on. And somebody will tell you, those two things are found in Ghana here. You have the salt. You understand me? So what else do you need? Concretely, you have the sea, you have the forest, you have the oil. But and look at the mess which it has created. Somebody can tell you that the oil is contributing to underdeveloped Ghana, not to develop it. How many of you are benefiting from it? How many of my children should not come to the next year? They're in level 200, they can't come to level 300 because the school fees have been high. Understand me? Why? Does it make sense? When you have oil in the country, you call yourself sovereign, democratic, independent. Or we are not independent, we are enslaved. Understand me? Yeah. Thank you for your question. Maybe Dr. Bochum wants to have something to it.
Thank you very much. I will start by saying that Africans have suffered because of bad leaders. Now my question is, can you tell us a little bit about the hair that you wear, the dreadlocks, and then African supremacy as compared to white? Their supremacy and the way they live their life. Yeah.
Okay, first off on the bad leaders, I came across a quote from a former CIA agent who said that since the independence era, there hasn't been a single leader in Africa that wasn't handpicked. I hope you heard that. I remember reading a book, Guerrilla Warfare by Che Guevara, and he talks about how to break the will of the enemy, that you have them come into a very narrow passage, and whoever's in front, you just shoot the one who's in front. The next one who comes after, you shoot that one who's after. The next one, eventually they will stop wanting to come in front. Now, what happened to our first crop of leader? You can look at Kwame Nkrumah deposed in a CIA coup. You can look at Patrice Lumumba, also CIA in connivance with Belgium and France. You can also look over to your Thomas Sankara, all the way coming back up to the 80s. That basically this is what you got. So when sometimes people say African leaders are corrupt, tell them Thomas Sankara, who France got connived with Cote d'Ivoire in order to get him out, because they said we can't allow him to be an example for the rest of the region. So at one point in time we had good leaders, but these people who are here are not selected by us despite going through the electoral process. So these are not your leaders, these are leaders who are selected by your enemies. And also those people reflect you. Why? Because if they aren't wearing African clothes, look at what you wear every day. When I was 17 years old, I said every day for the rest of my life I will wear clothes made by African people, and that's what I've done every single day since I was 17. I'm now 36 years old. it's very difficult for me to meet continental or even diaspora Africans who say, oh yes, I made that decision 9 years ago. Oh yes, they don't make that decision. So the person who is your president is doing exactly what you do. So why do you expect that person to do better than what you yourself are willing to do in your own life? You will say, oh, I tried to get my colleagues at University of Ghana to support RLG. They come up with 1,000 reasons that all boil down to what we say in the US that the white man's ice is colder. Their phones, their Samsung phones are broken and mine is working with 300 apps on it, but still they have an idea that the white man's ice is colder. So that's one to the leaders. Second, going into the Lux, it represents a spiritual connection with the Creator. It has nothing to do with Rastafarianism. That if you go all the way back to ancient Kemet, you will see it carved into stone. The author of the oldest book in the history of the world is Ptahhotep. You will see him carved in stone with locks. And it shows that he had a spiritual connection to the Creator. If you go all the way to South Africa, you will see the Sangoma who have locks. If you go all the way up to Yoruba land, you will see Dada, which is the lock. You will see in Ghana, Akomfo, Abokomfo, Asofo, not the Christian Asofo, the indigenous Asofo that was there first. They all have locks. If you go all the way to Senegal, you will see those who deal with the Arabs also with locks. It means one thing, and it's meant the same thing for over 10,000 years. Within one generation, you saw Bob Marley and it became Coco. They shipped it outside, brought it back, and you don't recognize it. The elders, they will say, oh, we don't want to do it as fetish. The youth don't even know that. They think it comes from Jamaica. And I had a friend from Cape Coast, and I had to convince her to go to her mother, and her mother told her, that's what this means, that you have a spiritual connection with the Creator, and it's been that for 10,000 years, but in one generation, that's been wiped away. You understand? The last question, you had leaders. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The last part. Okay, you had the idea of leaders, you had Lux. There was one other part that you had. Okay, white supremacy. I often follow my father in this and not calling it white supremacy because they are not supreme in anything unless we are talking about doing evil things. We can call it white world terror domination. In order to accurately describe that, they dominate the world by means of terrorist activities. You can look at what they did in the Congo. You can look at what they did to the Herero genocide, the original Holocaust that the Germans did to the Maharero and the Makwa people down there. You can look at the complete and total extermination of every single full-blooded Tasmanian from the face of the planet where you can't even find one. Every single place that they have been, they did the most supremely evil things that you could possibly imagine. So that's one. In terms of African reascension, one thing that is useful for us to know is that we were supreme at one point in time. That, and myself and Dr. Boche are doing what will be a very groundbreaking paper on the ancient African origins of Pan-Africanism that shows all of the times that the people of Kemet, which means land of the blacks, that you know as ancient Egypt, united with the Nubians, further to the south, black people who look just like you as well, in order to do what? Fight off the Asiatic incursion, to block them from coming into the continent, and even if they got into the continent, to expel them. And it's some of the most beautiful poetry that you'll read if you can read the Meta Netra or the translations even, that talked about how they slaved these Asiatics by the tens of thousands, these same Lebanese who now own Osu. You understand? They were talking about the times that we had victory against them. So basically the idea is that all history is a current event, to quote Dr. Clark as you did. What happened 5,000 years ago, 5 years ago, and 5 minutes ago tells you what will happen 5 minutes from now, 5 years from now, and 5,000 years from now. Once you know you did it in the past, you will know that you can be supreme once again. And it's just a matter of reigniting that fire.
Thank you. I'm happy that so far, those of you who did the presentation, you are lecturers of the various universities in Ghana. And that's to say that you form the intelligentsia of the country. So why don't you push so that history will be taught at the basic level? Why do we have to wait and be poisoned? Why do we have to learn certain things? To learn subjects that highlight our weakness as Africans. And if you are lucky to come to university, then you learn about the part of history that highlights our power or our progress so far. Why don't we study it at the basic level? We have been at places that people make such statements as black people are useless, black man, black sense. If not for a white man, we would have been dead. And I don't know, it's like at the basic level, we learn what highlights our failures. And then when we get here, and for those of us who are privileged to still study history, we learn that at least black men did something. Probably we have lost track because of something that happened along the line. And I don't know, recently, I don't know, but in our various churches, I've not heard a pastor preaching, let's say, divine justice. What we want is divine favor. That is to say that we are kind of teaching ourselves not to work hard, we just want favor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll try to answer your question, and I'm sure Dr. Kambon will say more about it. The first thing is that you've really touched upon a very important point. For me, education is the core of everything. You know, somebody will tell you if you want to destroy a person, if you don't want to destroy somebody, sort of aim at the person's mind. Once you destroy the person's mind, once you control the person's mind, you've got the person. He or she cannot do anything anymore. So again, the education system in Africa is really very, I would say, important. Why is it important? For me, it's important because it's in crisis. And I would say it started long ago, you know, with the colonial era and everything. You know, at some point before it became better. I'll give you an example. We have, I would say, the assimilation system of the direct rule and the indirect rule. It was more pronounced in the assimilated territories with French colonization, you know, where, you know, people were not even allowed at all to speak the mother tongue at school. You know, so if you sort of, you were living in a country called Volta at that time, which is today Burkina Faso, and you speak a language like Moshi or Jula, which is called Wangara here, they will just hang what they call the symbol, which is the bone of a dead animal at your neck. And you carry it for many days until another student is caught speaking his or her mother tongue at school. But remove the bone and put it on the neck of the other student. In other words, you were to speak only French language at school. Well, you're an African student. That is all type. You understand me? Your mother tongue is Wangara. That's one thing. The other thing is the curriculum, the history and geography. The history that was taught was the history of France. The same thing happened here. You talk about indirect rule. When the British came here, well, I'm sure that Britain was at the center of your curriculum in terms of history and geography. They're like what happened also in French-speaking countries. That's one thing. That's only education in, I would say, pre-colonial and even sort of post-colonial Africa. And the same thing is going on today in a worse and more powerful manner. I like quoting Goodwill Kiambo at that level when he says what? That the textbook functions as a perfect surrogate white master. When the colonizer is gone, and the textbook is there. The books that we are reading, what we have on our curriculum, the design of the curriculum is controlled. I know some lecturers who have to threaten to resign before they were allowed to teach certain courses in certain universities. I know a lecturer at the University of Ghana in Legon who studied anthropology, you know, and he wanted to teach oral literature, focusing on Ewe, and they would not allow him to teach it. He had to write to the vice chancellor at that time and threaten to resign, saying, if you don't allow me to teach oral literature, if you don't allow me to teach the literature of the Ewe people, I'm going to leave. That's when he was allowed to sort of start teaching that course. So again, you know, the curriculum is controlled, and I would say we have some examples, fortunately, but they didn't last. I'm glad my brother talked about Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara tried to break the chain. In Burkina Faso, he brought something that we used to call alphabetization commando, then a kind of a fast-track, you know, teaching way. Understand me? And local languages were being taught. African languages, not local. Our languages were being taught. Fulani, Wangara, Moshi, and others, and French. But as soon as he was killed, with machination of the French and the Ivorians, things were reversed. Only French. When I came here, I was surprised to see people, the president of Ghana, speaking what their languages on TV. Tree on TV. Man, you'll never see a president in Burkina Faso speaking what? Jula or Moshi. Don't speak French. French fried men. That's what we have now as leaders in Africa. You understand me? Yeah. So again, let me wrap it up. I'm being told that time is up. But I don't know if I answered your question, Dr. Kambon.
Okay, because of time, very briefly, I have a colleague there at University of Ghana, and well, let me give you just small background. For my Intro to African Studies class, I asked my students, what do you think of when you think of Africa? They say corruption, poverty, this, that, bad leaders, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, oh, I'm surprised that you didn't say mathematics, because African people invented mathematics. I'll say, I'm surprised you didn't mention writing, because the oldest book in the history of human beings was written in Africa by an African who looks exactly like you, exactly like me. So I give them all these examples, and now they say, oh, why did I have to wait, exactly your question, why did I have to wait until I got to university to know this information? And it's a major problem. Now, one thing that my colleague said, you know what, they have what's called UTAG, University Teachers Association of Ghana, and she was like, you know what we should do? We should get into that, I don't want to say infiltration, we should get into that association and then enter into advocacy and say, you know what, this should be taught at the basic level. History should be taught at the basic level, because just as Dr. Traore said, you have a situation where we have a map test where the students can point to only Ghana and Nigeria and Madagascar, just because it's a bit off. Yeah, there's a movie about it, so they know that one. But other than that, they don't know anything on the African continent, but they can point out where the English Premier League is and where Barca is and all these other places. So it's a major, major problem, but these are the reasons why we are here in Africa making it on African soil, because we see that this is the prerequisite to making sure that Africa can be a world power. You have to know that you did it in the past. There's a quote by Renoko Rashidi, and I'll close with this. What you do for yourselves depends on what you think of yourselves. What you think of yourselves depends on what you know of yourselves. And what you know of yourselves depends on what you have been told. So what we have to do is start telling you about yourself from an early age, so that by the time it's time for you to be president and start doing things, you can do intelligent things, because those people who are leaders, quote unquote, right now, have not been told anything about themselves. So in Paulo Freire says, in a system of oppression, an educator is either a liberator or an oppressor, him or herself. So you have to decide that if I'm going to be a liberator, either I'm going to dupe you or I've been duped myself, otherwise I'm going to liberate you. So.
Okay, thanks so much. We could see you've sat down for quite so long. Those of us who were here at 9:30, by now your bodies will need a low rest. We want to give you about 30 minutes maximum break. You go stretch out, go stand in the sun and enjoy some sun rays. It's only at 1 o'clock we come back and continue the program. We have 1 or 2 talks to listen to. Then from there we end the program. Thank you, God bless you. And you go out and enjoy yourself. Have fun, take some contact, at least make new friends. All right.